All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We are decoding the minds and the motivations of a very specific and honestly fascinating group of people, the digital non-posters. I mean, think about the world we live in right now. We're in an era where literally everything is documented, heavily filtered, and instantly uploaded for the world to see. We all know that pressure, right? That low-level anxiety of capturing the absolute perfect angle at dinner, or feeling this weird societal expectation to drop a flawless photo dump at the end of every month just to prove we're out there living our best lives. In a landscape like that, choosing to stay entirely out of the frame, that is a massive, powerful statement. So today, we're going to unpack exactly what's going on inside the minds of the people who intentionally choose silence over sharing. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to think for a second about your friends, your family, or maybe your coworkers. Have you ever noticed that one person who just never posts pictures online? You know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm talking absolutely zero filtered photos of their avocado toast, no mandatory gym mirror selfies to prove they actually worked out, no birthday shout-outs, no life updates, nothing. They are essentially a completely blank slate on social media.
Look, we live in a world that fundamentally rewards attention. Visibility is literally the currency of our era. The going assumption is that the more you post, the more you exist. And because of this, society tends to falsely equate being unseen with being unsuccessful or maybe just lonely. These non-posters end up getting unfairly viewed as these invisible digital ghosts. We just naturally assume they're hiding, or actually, scratch that, we assume they're simply not doing anything worth sharing. But as you'll see as we break this all down, that assumption is a complete straw man. It's incredibly flawed.
Section 1. The myth of the invisible. To truly understand these individuals, we've got to completely shift our paradigm here and toss out the idea that a lack of posting just means someone is shy or antisocial. Psychology actually tells us that human behavior is never random. Maintaining a completely bare social media profile, that is a deliberate choice. This digital absence is highly intentional, and believe it or not, it's a huge indicator of a highly developed emotional intellect. What does that actually look like in practice? Well, it means that when someone actively opts out of the digital attention economy, they aren't retreating in fear, they are standing firm. It reveals this profound level of confidence in a really specific, disciplined mindset that simply doesn't rely on virtual applause to feel good.
Moving on to Section 2, privacy over popularity. So this is where we look at how non-posters actively protect their mental space rather than chasing after online fame. Psychologists actually have a specific term for this. It's called high privacy orientation. Basically, this means these individuals place an immense value on controlling exactly what others see and think about them. And it's super crucial to understand that they are not just being antisocial. Think of it like someone closing the curtains in their living room at night, right? It's not because they hate their neighbors, it's simply because they deeply value the peace and intimacy of their own home. They are fierce gatekeepers of their own mental space. They just don't want or need their personal moments subjected to public consumption. And this brilliantly illustrates the core difference in how they navigate the world. While the vast majority of people are out there frantically seeking validation through this exhausting, endless stream of likes and comments, these individuals rely entirely on self-validation. Let's be real for a second. The pursuit of external validation is completely draining. Think about that subtle stress of posting a picture and then checking your phone every 5 minutes to see if the right people liked it. It's exhausting. These non-posters don't need to announce their life to the entire internet just to feel good about it. It's this quiet, subtle sign of deep inner security. They've just bypassed that whole digital rat race entirely. Which brings us to Section 3, secure and self-aware. Let's peel back the next psychological layer here regarding how non-posters actually view their own identity and their intrinsic worth. Research points to a really fascinating concept called self-concept clarity. People who share less online typically have this incredibly strong, unshakable sense of who they are. They know their core values, they know their goals, and they know what genuinely matters to them when the screens finally go dark. Because their happiness comes entirely from the inside, they are completely freed from the need to chase internet trends or beg for external approval to validate their existence. And honestly, that is a rare kind of freedom these days. When you break down the traits of this kind of secure self-esteem, their behavior suddenly makes total sense. These emotionally secure individuals feel intrinsically complete. They already feel whole. So they don't need to post a glossy vacation selfie just to prove their worth to some guy they went to high school with 10 years ago. Psychologists point out that people with this emotional balance are generally less anxious, way less approval-seeking, and highly focused on actual, tangible, real-world goals. I mean, think about the immense amount of energy people spend curating a fake digital life. Now imagine taking all that energy and spending it on actually living your real life. That's exactly what they do. They just don't need digital attention to survive.
All right, Section 4, internal locus of evaluation.
So how do these deep introspective thinkers actually process the world around them? The secret lies in a really powerful cognitive trait called an internal locus of evaluation. Honestly, in today's hyper-connected world, having this is basically a superpower. It means they judge themselves, their successes, and their failures entirely by their own personal standards, not the arbitrary, made-up standards of society or whatever is trending on their feed today. People who stay quiet online tend to be deep thinkers. They introspect, they really think before they speak, and they only post when something genuinely truly matters to them, rather than just making noise for the sake of making noise. Let's look at this comparison table to really map this out, because the contrast here is pretty staggering. Look at how they measure themselves. The deep thinker, our non-poster, relies purely on their own personal standards. Meanwhile, the standard social media user is constantly, obsessively measuring themselves against the expectations of others. And when it comes to interaction style, the deep thinker prefers rich, authentic, face-to-face conversations. They completely reject the superficial interactions that dominate standard social media use. You know what I mean, like responding with a little fire emoji to the story of someone you haven't actually spoken to in 5 years. They trade all that superficial stuff for the genuinely meaningful.
Let's dive into Section 5, escaping the comparison cycle. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it shifts our focus to the broader digital landscape and the very real mental health implications of social media. This brings us to a phenomenon known as social comparison theory. It's basically the psychological tendency we all have to constantly measure our own worth, our achievements, and our happiness against the carefully curated highlight reels of other people. Non-posters fundamentally understand how easily social media distorts reality. They recognize that everyone online is essentially acting as their own PR firm, and they see the dangerous, exhausting trap that this theory describes. By intentionally staying low-key, non-posters are actively protecting their mental health from that endless, toxic comparison cycle. The big takeaway here is that they aren't missing out, they are opting out. It's a conscious, deliberate choice to prioritize their own internal peace instead of putting on a daily digital performance for an audience of mere acquaintances. They guard their peace by flat-out refusing to play a game where the rules are constantly changing.
And finally, Section 6, quietly confident.
Let's summarize this profound paradigm shift we've just mapped out in this explainer. What is the actual reality behind the silence? Well, as we've seen, our initial societal assumptions couldn't be more wrong. So, the next time you notice someone who never posts pictures, remember these key takeaways. They are not shy, and they definitely aren't antisocial. They are highly grounded. They are incredibly emotionally intelligent, and they are deeply, deeply self-aware. Frankly, they represent the absolute pinnacle of modern self-awareness in an increasingly noisy digital age.
I want to leave you with this powerful thought drawn straight from the psychology of these exact individuals. Listen to this. They don't need to be seen to feel seen. How great is that? Their sense of belonging and their worth is completely internal. They don't need a glowing screen to reflect their value back at them. And honestly, that is the literal definition of real, unshakable confidence. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to turn it right back to you. Take a hard look at your own habits. What does your digital footprint, or maybe the lack thereof, actually say about your internal confidence? Are you posting for connection, or are you just posting for validation? It's a pretty fascinating question to sit with, isn't it? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next explainer.